This is the It's Just That podcast, brought to you by Alpaca, growth strategists. It's just that are potentially the three most negative words in the English language, at least where business is concerned. In this podcast, we are going to be exploring some of the backstories of our favourite clients, local business people and prominent entrepreneurs, and exploring a little bit more about what's stopping them from achieving the things they dream about. For us, it was buying that Ferrari. For them, who knows? We'll be sitting down in a Ferrari, having a drive around in a Ferrari and talking to them about their art of the possible, the things they want to achieve but thought they couldn't. Here we are this morning with big thanks to Elliot Turnbull at Harewood Hill Climb. I'm meeting Charlie Beech, ex-professional rugby union player, to have a chat about his backstory, hear a bit more about his life, and then get into his It's Just That, and see what the art of the possible might be.
That's it, long enough. Oh, it's going to take me long enough to get in the bloody thing. There we are. Oh, there we go.
Like a really crap episode of Top Gear, isn't it? It's like, what have you brought?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just enjoying the fact that my knees bend that way. It's lovely. This is amazing. Literally doesn't matter how many times you get like near one of these and see one of these, just actually getting in one's something else entirely. I mean, it does make a lovely noise.
It really does. So your backstory, 10 minutes. What's your name? Where did you come from? How did you get here? You and I were introduced during lockdown. You found me during lockdown.
I introduced myself. Yeah. So, so who I am, Charlie Beech. What I've done before in life, I was a professional rugby player for 15 years. So up until the ripe old age of 32, that was my life, which I could feel more than 10 minutes talking about. It was an insanely amazing career in so many ways, and there were massive downsides to it as well, as there is with anything, but on the whole, brilliant thing. And then found myself at a point where essentially couldn't be the family man and the dad that I was and be a professional rugby player. Something had to give, and the rugby was the thing that had to give. So found myself looking for a job. Didn't have any qualifications past A-levels, didn't have anything other than a vague network of people that I'd sort of built up during my rugby career to lean on. Through one conversation, ended up in front of a business coach, and the business coach noticed that I could talk the hind legs off a donkey and put me in front of a telephone, and that was my job, ringing people, trying to get them interested in business coaching. And you were one of the people that was a name on a list somewhere, and as I've told many people, your out of office email is more or less 100% responsible for this relationship happening. So that was that. Yeah, and that's essentially how we've ended up here. I mean, there's many twists and turns in the middle. Like, you know, I'm four kids later, and several businesses here, there, and everywhere that you know I've worked in or worked on or been part of or done different things. Ran a charity events business for a short time while I was a professional rugby player, to prove the point that it could be done, that we had time and resource to spare.
It's a healthy CV. So go back a little bit. I've got to make sure I get some of the backstory in.
Sure.
Were you always going to be a rugby player?
Yes and no. I mean, I started playing rugby when I was 7. We played, all my family are footballers. We played a dad and lads game, and at the age of 7 I did a slide tackle on someone's dad and nearly broke him in two. I mean, he wasn't the biggest bloke in the world, but he did limp afterwards. So my dad, and I always say a lot of respect for my dad for this, because there are many dads that are, or were, it's a different world now, but were, I did this, you'll do this. I'm a footballer, my children play football.
Yeah.
And my dad took one look at me and he was like, there's this other game you could play where you get to run into people. And I was like, sounds great. And that was that. I took it along to the local rugby club, and that was that. So I have always played rugby, more or less as long as I've been able to do something, I've played rugby. I adore it as a game. It's a huge part of who I am and what I'm about and how I do things, how I approach everything.
Right. Was it always union?
Initially, yes. So in the south, that was the only option until, as we got a bit older, there was a guy in a sort of neighbouring town that was a rugby league man, and he and his son wanted to play rugby league as well. So we ended up playing league through the summers and union through the winters. So from the age of 12, I played rugby, every weekend. It was amazing.
Because I'll embarrass myself. I told you my nickname was Sport, which might have been just a little bit ironic. Thank you to my friends. But I grew up watching rugby league, never fully understood rugby union. I don't have anything against it. I just it's just too many people on the pitch at any one time, because I got used to counting 13 on the side. It just baffled my small brain.
And someone using the sort of analogy of it being chess and checkers. It's played on the same board, but it's a completely different game with different pieces. Is exactly what rugby union and rugby league are to each other. And I love both games. They are very different games, but they are both amazing games, just for different reasons. I've massively enjoyed playing both. Rugby league I enjoyed less, purely because the closest away game was 4 hours away, because you had to play other people in the north, because there wasn't anywhere else in the south other than Hemel Hempstead, weirdly. And then we generally got battered by kids half our size, because they knew, like most rugby league lads, they learn to tackle very hard very young. So whereas union, it's more about still learning scrums and line outs and lifts, and you just literally learn to hit people. So yeah, you come north and get torn in half by people half your height and just go, this isn't fun, I'm going back home. So yeah, I've always played, and I was sort of hit at that choice when you doing your GCSEs and doing your A-levels, where you go and what you're doing. You're going to uni, you're doing this, you're doing anything else. I was interviewed to read history at Cambridge, which is where I was going. However, the lady that interviewed me told me that she thought rugby players brought down the tone of the university.
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah, it was a mild indication. So the rugby team were trying to get me in. She wasn't too much of a fan, and then this scholarship came along from a lifetime fan of Northampton Saints, who'd sent his children through Oakham School, and he'd be like, right, come here, spend 2 years at this school, and then join Northampton Saints. So the dreams of going to Cambridge and all that kind of then went, well, I've kind of got a career sorted here, and off I went.
So what's the potted history then? We're not going to go through every team, but you played
the main team, without including all the loan clubs, because we would go on forever. Other than the year I spent season I spent in New Zealand, which was good fun. Straight out of school to Northampton Saints, so sort of 2 years there, 4 years at Wasps back when they were in London. 3 years down at Bath, and then 6 playing for Leeds, which is why I moved up here. I then did sort of Coventry for half a season, Doncaster for a little bit more, and then I'm now at Hull playing semi-professionally. So I'm still actively playing at weekends.
So what does that entail then? That's got to be a hard life if you're trying to do a day job through the week and then train and then play on a weekend.
So you train Tuesday, Thursday nights, and if any of the lads who train with me will sit screaming at this now, because they'll say, Charlie, I've never seen you on a Tuesday night. I did one this year, I mean, I'm trying. So yeah, train Tuesday, Thursday night and then play on a Saturday, and we're in so it's National 2 North we're in, so you only have to play half the country, which means your furthest away game is 4 hours away. When you go to the league above, it's national, and therefore you've got teams like Plymouth to go and deal with, which, as you say, when you're trying to work a full-time job and then jump on a bus for however long that's going to take, which might be our reality next season, because we're currently top of the table. So
are you enjoying it more or less now it's semi-pro? Do you ever get to that point where did it ever stop being fun when it was professional? I
will always love playing rugby. I was never a massive fan of being a full-time rugby player, purely because the life around it involves a lot of training, a lot of gym work, a lot of nutrition work, and a lot of physical sort of discipline that I don't really have. I know that sounds a bit daft, but like, I've always been a big lump, so being in a gym's never been important to me. I've always been big and strong, and I know I could have got stronger, and I know that was always an option, but part of me was always like, just let me on a rugby field, just give me a ball, let me run at someone, put me in a scrum, let me push someone over. So I enjoy it more now, because I don't have to do the bits I didn't enjoy about rugby, and I do get to do more of the bits I did, which was be on a rugby field.
And you said something a few minutes ago, and it reminded me of an article I read probably not long after we were first introduced. Actually, I did my research. You made a reference to using rugby in everything you do now, and the article you wrote, and it was probably when you were working with the action coach, you were talking about coaching.
Yes.
And drawing the parallels. This is a business podcast. Drawing those parallels with having coaching in business and people who are uncoachable or don't want to be coached.
Yeah.
It always struck with me. I thought, it's quite interesting that it's a reasonably modern phenomenon.
Yes.
Having a coach, but we all watch sport and it seems perfectly normal. Why wouldn't you do something like that in business? Not necessarily coaching, but even what we're trying to do with our business, which is, well, can we help you? Can we help you think differently?
Yeah. No, it's one of the reasons I think I appealed to the coach who hired me, was that he thought, well, one of the lines that has come, Action Coach, massive global franchise, so a lot of the lines that they read are very scripted and been tried and tested around the world, and one of the main ones is, look at your local sport, your favourite sports team. Do any of those people not have coaches? So it was sort of used as a hook, but the fact that I could actually sit there and be like, well, actually, I've been a professional sportsman, I've always had multiple coaches across disciplines, defence coach, attack coach, forwards coach, strength and conditioning coach. You've got coaches for everything, so it's like, why wouldn't you have one? And to be able to actually sit there and go on, explain to me why I don't need a coach.
Yeah.
To someone who sat there who feels like he runs the best business in the world and doesn't need anyone to help him, it's like, what's he saying? I wasn't very good at rugby because I needed a coach.
I think that's the really interesting analogy, isn't it? That what Alpaca does is probably a little bit akin to management consultancy sometimes.
Yes.
And we've all heard the cliche of management consultants. They'll come into your business, they'll borrow your watch, and they'll tell you what time it is.
Yeah.
I remember having a tutor who once said that to me, and he was a management consultancy tutor at University of Leeds, and he said, oh, well, we've all heard that before, but the thing is, if you don't even know how to tell the bloody time, then I have helped you.
Yeah.
And it's that cliche of, no one can tell me what to do in my business. No one knows my business better than I do.
Yeah.
But for every aphorism, there's an equal and opposite aphorism. And there's that element of distance helps sometimes. If you're on the outside, you can help. If a professional sports person can have a coach, why can't a business benefit from having somebody from the outside looking in, pointing out that bit's wood, that bit's trees?
Well, the one thing I've always said, business is sport, is relationships. It's all the same thing. It's very easy to see when your mate's in a horrible relationship.
Yeah.
It's very hard to see when you're in one.
Yeah.
The amount of times you have this girlfriend that you think's the most amazing person in the world, and everyone around you's like, you can't see it because you're in love with her. And it's like, that's the same when you're in a business. You love your business, you've built your business from the floor, you can only see the amazing things about the business. I don't need any help, I don't need anyone's advice. Someone on the outside's going, ooh, there's a few bits there that need a bit of work. Like you say, that distance, you need to not be in it to see it. And so there is that level there, but as you say, it's just drawing the parallels for people, and sport is a nice parallel because a lot of people are interested in it. I know there's people that aren't, but even if you're not interested, you're aware of it. And coaching, as I said in that article, it's not about being bad and getting better, it's about being good and being pushed to your limit. Like it's kind of helping you push yourself further and push onwards. Like you look at Nadal's a bloody good tennis player. Like he doesn't need teaching how to play tennis.
Yeah.
Like there's not a huge amount that you can tell him about tennis, but he has coaches, because the whole thing is keeping him on point and pushing him and helping him realise what he needs to do for himself.
Yeah.
And that's the same when you look at coaching in a business. It's helping business owners to push themselves further and see things in different ways and go for else. And like you say, from a consultancy idea, it's having that outside perspective where you're not sat and involved in it. And it's the same reason why sports people work with multiple of coaches, or they have guest coaches come in and do things. It's another perspective.
Yeah.
You're not part of the team, you've not got the team ethos, you've not got the background, you don't know who's done what. You can come in and give it a neutral perspective and just say, well, look, these are areas that could be worked on, or this is a different way of looking at something. So yeah, it helps me to write, which is why I've written the odd article. It helps me get, you know, my thoughts in order.
Yeah.
And it did quite well. That article, to be fair, it got published in the rugby paper. Therefore, published
author.
Or journal? Yeah, I wouldn't be a journalist, but published author. I'll take that.
I'll send that back to the lady at Cambridge.
Yeah, exactly that. Made it.
Yeah.
It's a rugby paper, you know, that hallowed journal of integrity. No, it's a lovely thing. But no, I very much enjoyed my time there. I learned a huge amount while working in Action Coach. I learned a lot of systems, met a lot of people.
Yeah.
Got an opportunity to get out there and sort of stretch my legs a bit, and you know, to sort of segue into where I've ended up. I went out and started my own outsourced business development company because I was doing business development. It occurs to me the same pattern is relevant across industry.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be to a coach.
Shall we?
I think we shall. Gotta have an open road.
I know what you're trying to do these days is help some of those other sports people transition from a life of sport to a life after sport.
Yeah, that's.
What does that mean?
So, and don't get me wrong, like, I was 18 when I, you know, first started out, and I remember being sat in a room and they had an ex Northampton player came in, and he was, you know, lad, you got to start looking at your life. You're not going to be a professional rugby player forever. You need to, you know, get ready for these things. And I remember sat there thinking, bore off, Grandad. Like, I'm going to be playing this forever, and I'll be fine.
Okay, boomer.
Yeah, and it was exactly that. And it was like, right, well, and somehow I managed 15 years with no major injuries. I mean, you know, a couple of dislocations and stuff that put me out for a while, but nothing that was season ending, nothing that was, you know, knocking me out in too big a way. So I've managed to make it to this point. Many of the lads I started playing out didn't. Yeah. I know a number of the lads that I started playing with aren't still playing. There's very few of us still going that made it as far as I did. So there's always been a level of provision, as you say, and right, what's easy for the lads to learn, what's within their interest levels, what will they think they're good at. Personal training, coaching. You do get a lot of lads suddenly start potting up down local clubs doing a lot of coaching work, so you get those two things hammered. The odd nutritionist. Very rare is the person who's got the, you know, discipline around rugby to then go off and get a degree in something or do something else that way. But the biggest thing in all of it is, for me, work experience. Like you said, there's so much downtime.
Yeah.
You know, like, general week, you'd have a video session on a Monday, maybe a light run around as well, and a gym session. So you're talking a couple of hours in a full working day. Tuesday was your longest day. You know, Wednesday off, Thursday half a day, Friday even less, Saturday play a game. So there's so much time, but none of it has been in a uniform method that can be kind of given over to another business to go off and learn how to do something else.
So what you're trying to do now is step in and help those players while they're still playing.
Yes.
To get some kind of experience.
Yeah.
To give them a leg up when they finish playing.
It's exactly that, because, you know, any sports person that's played at any level will tell you, they go up to a coach and they say, coach, I want to play. Yeah. And they say, not yet, young, and you haven't got the experience.
Yeah.
And you say, how do I get experience if you're not going to put me on the rugby field? Yeah. And it's exactly the same conversation you have when you go for a job and they say, well, how many years of relevant experience have you got? Okay. And none. Well, how am I going to get it if you won't give me a job in it?
And that's going to bring us to your, it's just that.
Yeah.
It's just that, your art of the possible, the thing that is giving you headaches, causing you problems, or an opportunity that you can't quite grasp. What is that? How does it relate back to what you were just telling me about how you're trying to help sports people transition out of the world of sports into a world of business?
So it's almost twofold, and one, it's like chicken and egg almost. It's just that I don't have the resources right now to get in front of the number of people I need to get in front of. Yeah. But I also need more people to justify getting the resources or making, you know, money in long and short of it. for this to work, I need to be able to provide a bank of people to do whatever it is that we're finding to do. So
Okay, pause for a second. In order for this to work, so what's this? What in 2 sentences? What is your business plan? What are you trying to do?
So, my personal goal is to help professional sports people out of sport by providing them with work experience.
Yeah.
Front Row Support is an outsourced business development company.
Yeah.
And the initial plan had been to take anyone that's in sport, use their natural drive, determination, and will to win, and the network they have but won't realise they have, and turn them into business developers, recruiters, anyone that uses their kind of interpersonal skills, because they're all used to working as part of teams.
I remember you once telling me that sports people, particularly rugby people, find that business development easier than most because a bad day at the office when you're doing business development is very different from a bad day in the office when you're on the rugby pitch.
Yeah, well, I got this job. I was just having a coffee with the business coach. The idea being he'd introduce me to some people because he knows lots of businesses.
Yeah.
And it came round to it and he went, "Do you know what, I've probably got a job for you." He says, "But you've got to realise business development involves a lot of rejection. How do you deal with rejection?" And I was like, "With a face like this, I'm used to it." And he laughed and I got the job. And as you say, like, a tough day at the office when you're on a phone is being told no a lot and someone being rude maybe, and just feeling a bit like, oh, I can't really do this, and maybe I'm in the wrong place. A tough day at the office on a rugby field is either you've just had your leg broken and therefore the next 6 months are going to be pretty unfortunate. You have turned up overweight, so you've then got to spend the next 6 months getting flogged at 6 AM every morning. You're currently stood in very small shorts, the wind's coming in sideways, as is the hail, you can barely feel your fingers, and you've got to be out there for another hour. These are bad days.
Yeah, so there's more resilience. There's more resilience in that world than having someone tell you on the phone,
"Go away, you're an idiot, I don't need a coach." All right, mate, I'm still sat down, I'm warm, there's coffee, I'm not too bothered.
So your model has moved from originally you were taking sports people and making them business development people. Now it's wider than that. You're trying to find them experience.
Yes.
So what's the one thing that's stopping them? Because there's a risk of every one of these videos we do. Ironically, everything comes back to, is that ironic? I'm actually not sure if I've just used that in the Alanis Morissette way of spoons and forks, but whatever it is, it's irritating. A lot of those issues come back to, it's time. I'm running full tilt now, and I'm trying to find them.
It's an interesting one, because I read something the other day and they said time's a man-made construct. So don't say I haven't got time, say I didn't want to.
Yeah.
And I believe that, because at the end of the day, like, I could have been very busy today and there were things I could have done, but I chose to come and jump in this because how often do you get invited to drive around in a Ferrari? So I made time.
Yeah.
Because it's a man-made thing. So if I want to do it, I'll do it. So when some people say I haven't got time, it's because they're doing things that they either would prefer to be doing or think are more important.
Yeah.
So I don't think I've not had time. I've got time to put the business together and do the things I need to do.
So what's the next step then? What's the step that sitting here in a Ferrari is actually really easy, but for whatever reason you haven't made the time for it? Is it being in front of more sports clubs, or is it the money?
No, it's the money justifies spending the time on. So talk about time again, but essentially, until this point, I've not had enough work or resource to be able to turn around to a club and say, "This is my idea.
Yeah,
I want to help," and that is the core of me. And you mentioned it then. The core of what I'm doing, I want to help people.
Yeah,
whether it's a business owner, whether it's a sports person, charity's a massive part. One of my clients is to do with funding charities and fundraising for charities. I love that side of things. I want to get involved and help as many charities as I can. Like, it's helping people is what I'm about.
And there must be there's obviously a need for this, but there must be a desire to help. The clubs surely want.
Well, there is.
I mean, and business people. It's a sweeping generalisation, as if all business people are the same. But people love sport.
Yes.
People love sport. Business people love sport. That's why That's why business people sponsor sports and go sit in boxes and do the rest of it. So if you're giving them an opportunity, again, it was going to come up for about the third or fourth time in this chat, my short stint, the chap that was doing business development at the time was Nick Fozzard.
Yeah.
And everybody loved him because he was just a bundle of joy. He would talk to anybody, and all of the local businesses wanted him to come out and have a coffee with him because it was Nick.
Yes.
He used to play rugby. We've seen him on the telly.
Exactly.
And if you can provide that for people, it feels like it should be really easy. It feels like the club should be banging down your door. Do they just not know this exists?
Exactly. And the reason they don't know it exists, one, COVID ruined a lot of that because the physical presence is part of that, and that wasn't there. And two, it's how I've framed it, and it was only in conversation with Leeds Rhinos. So I've been speaking to those guys recently. So this whole project as such is going to start tomorrow when I have a meeting with Brett Delaney.
Right.
So it's work experience. There are lots of people offering qualifications. There's lots of people offering recruitment opportunities, networking opportunities. But it doesn't actually help in a lot of ways because you've still got that basic problem of you don't have the relevant experience. And they tell me that the RFL themselves provide funding for these opportunities, and the one area that every club falls short on is work experience.
Yeah.
Now, I wouldn't have known that if I'd not been talking to the Rhinos boys, and that's exactly what I'm offering. I'm offering work experience. So I need the exposure to get in front of more clubs, to get more of the lads involved. And it's not just rugby and lads, I just use that because it's where I'll start, because it's where my network is.
Yeah.
Long term, I want it in every sport, male, female, any, whatever, people who come from one industry that proves drive and determination and everything else. You say it doesn't even have to be sport. I've got a couple of ex-coppers on the working for me, ex-military, anything that's your identity. There will be a mental health crash when you lose that identity. That will be eased massively if you know there's a next step that's already provided for. And the best way of providing that is to give them work experience, and I can provide that now.
Yeah. So to sum up, it's just that you need an alpaca, you need a business coach to sit down and work out a business model of how do we get the money in, what's the most tax efficient way of doing it, and then we need to send a video of this chat to every chief exec in the RFU, RFL.
I fully believe I can't sell anything I don't believe in.
Yeah.
So when I'm doing business development, when I'm pushing anything, if I don't believe it, I can't do it. I've always been successful selling coaching and consultancy and things of a nature because I believe in it. No one knows everything. You can always be better, and other people will push you to be better than you can be by yourself.
Yeah.
I've never had a consultant or a coach in the business world purely because I've needed to meet the right one. I've needed the time to get myself on my feet, find what I'm good at and find what I'm not good at.
Yeah.
And then get the headspace to go, right, where do we go from here?
Yeah. So we need a network of business owners watching this who want to give an opportunity for some sports people to come into their business and do some work experience.
So either that, or they need business development because I can provide that directly. Yeah. So they either use one of the services that Front Row Support provides, in which case the people working it will be professional sports people.
Yeah.
Or I need businesses that are saying, do you know what? Given that we all now work from home, flexible working, virtual working, having someone that might have a Tuesday one week, a Wednesday the following week, half a day here, 3 weeks because he's injured, no weeks for a couple of while because something else is happening.
Yeah.
But do you know what? There's a role, a KPI measured role there that can be fulfilled that also ties us in nicely with a local professional sports club.
Okay.
It works on both angles. It's just providing that work experience.
Thinking caps on. Let's find some businesses who want work experience.
There you go. So the it's just that wasn't the it's just that I thought it was when I got here in the first place.
It's changed.
But that's the point of talking it through, isn't it? You don't know what you don't know. And I've been trying to stab at what's holding me back.
Yeah.
But until you say it out loud, you realise it's, money is an issue because I need to be able to provide laptops, phones. I need to be able to spend the time myself travelling to the clubs to set up these relationships. I need to be able to offer a certain package that's defined and done properly, which means that I need my income sorted elsewhere so that I can So money is an issue, you know. But I need the people to justify. I'm going out there saying I need money for 100 laptops, so I need 100 people to pick the laptops up and work on them. So it's like, I can't do that without the club, and it's trying to find a way around it. And then you sort of, have you thought about this?
Yeah.
No, because I don't know that exists.
Well,
and I haven't got, and I've been working too hard doing other bits to spend the time on that.
We find that a lot. And like I said, it's a bit like the coaching element. Much of what we do is not rocket science. In fact, none of what we do is rocket science. It's just knowing a little bit more than a lot of the business owners, and the things we talk about, the way you set your business up, seed enterprise investment funds, virgin startup loans that are available to everybody. We take these for granted because we see them all the flipping time. And actually, a lot of business owners never heard of them, haven't got a clue, didn't know it existed. So that's, if we can help people by just identifying that those things exist, we've done our job.
Oh, exactly that.
Okay. Yeah. So Charlie, and now your go. Right, Charlie. Is it Charlie or Charles?
Technically, it is a Charles. Yeah.
Charles. Do you prefer Charlie or Charles?
I prefer Charles.
We'll go with Charlie.
We'll go with Charlie.
So your turn to drive now.
Yes.
What I've realised when I've done these in the past is the conversation goes very flat at this point because the person sat in your seat is generally thinking, don't bin the Ferrari, don't bin the Ferrari, don't bin the Ferrari. And I suspect that's not going to be a problem for you. I mean, my bigger challenge is the little voice in your head going, make it go loud.
Talking's not really an issue in mine, no.
So the slight change here, hang on, because you've still got a parking brake on.
So I was looking.
So that would be a fail.
It's on the floor, isn't it?
That would be a fail. You've got to lift it up until the light goes off. The light says park.
All the way up?
Up and then down.
Up then.
Yep, still on.
It's on the floor?
Yep, try again. Try again. Try again.
We're going to be here all day.
26 times is genuinely my record. There's a knack to it. Just give it a lift up and then down.
So what, I need more arm rub, that's what I need. Da, 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 da. It's going to sit here forever.
Right, Charlie, did you enjoy driving the Ferrari?
I loved it.
Let's move on.
Glorious.
Yeah.
Much fun as a man can have pumping his right arm.
What you do? I mean, do you want me to come around and do it?
I might actually need you to come around here and do it for me. Yeah. This is like, it's just not wanting to let go of.
There you go.
We got there.
There you go.
We got there. Right.
Yeah. How hard can it be?
You would think, wouldn't you?
The slight change this time round is that the man out there filming us apparently knows your other half.
He does.
So we asked her a few questions.
Nice.
And we thought, well, it would be quite interesting to just trot some of these out whilst you're driving so that the conversation doesn't go completely flat.
I mean,
so if you'd like to proceed to the traffic lights.
Seems like a fair premise, yeah. I enjoy that.
So we asked her what she thought you might say and how you might describe yourself.
Okay.
She said one of the first things you would tell us is that you were a professional rugby player for 15 years. She said you'll say it.
Yeah.
Which I think you said in about the first.
Yeah, it's genuinely. She has heard me say that to about 5,000 people.
Now, in fairness, we've had this chat before because you know the existential angst I've had about filming these things.
Yes.
And the whole look at me, don't look at me.
Yeah.
This is a bit weird. And you were the one who told me to just embrace it. Yeah. Because that was your version of the rugby. You can't really hide it. That is what you did. Yeah. And that is what people want to hear about.
I did try, and it's one of the big things, I tried to hide it for a number of years. Would pick up the phone and sort of not tell people I was a professional rugby player. Obviously, physically, the moment you see me, you go, oh, he's a big lad, I bet he played rugby.
Yeah.
But on a phone, you can be anyone. So, didn't tell people and sort of tried not to lean on that as a crutch, and then realised after a time, the moment people did find out, they're like, oh, tell me more about that. That actually makes you a more credible business person.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, let's do that then. So now, yeah, I literally at the start of most conversations with anyone new or introduce yourself. Hi, I'm Charlie, I used to play rugby. Professional rugby player, 15 years.
And she also said you like to think of yourself as a bit of a rock character. So I was supposed to ask you
The Rock, yeah.
As in The Rock. So she said we had to ask you to sing the song from Moana, which I think is probably going to get us sued by Jerry Seinfeld for doing People Getting Coffee in Cars, and possibly James Corden for doing Ferrari Carpool Karaoke.
Yeah, true.
But if you want to give us a blast,
I mean,
yeah, I'd just let you have a go in a Ferrari.
To say except you're welcome. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I mean, I would happily sing all day. I wouldn't necessarily do all the rock songs, but yeah.
All the rock songs?
He's got a few songs.
Has he?
Yeah.
I feel like you've got an album back at home now of like the Rock's greatest hits.
No, I mean, I just grew up listening to. I used to watch wrestling when he was a wrestler. I loved it.
Does he have a prolific back catalogue?
So he was on a song called "It Doesn't Matter" by Wyclef Jean.
Right.
Because that was his catchphrase. It doesn't matter. So they did the whole thing with that.
Okay.
Obviously, he sings in Moana, obviously, and then he's just released like a rap. I think he might actually be doing a rap album, but there was a song he was in where he was doing a bit of rapping in the background of. So I wouldn't say he's got a prolific, but he's appeared more than once. It's not like just a random.
Well, he's got more songs than I have.
Oh, exactly, and me, you know. So yeah, I don't know all the Moana songs. I mean, I know a good number of them, but like I don't know enough of them all the way through. My thing was Motown.
Well, the batteries in the camera will probably finish before you can do a whole run through of Moana. But if you want to start from the start, fill your boots.
Tea sandwiches somewhere. Oh,
that's the horn.
Girly horn. Wasn't expecting that.
Sexist alarm.
I'm sorry.
It is not a girly horn.
I'm sorry.
It is not. There's no such thing. There is no such thing as a manly or a girly horn. It is a high-pitched horn.
I apologise profusely to all those people that found that comment offensive.
Highly misogynistic to all the horns of the world.
It's very much so.
I will admit, it's not the most gruff of horns.
It's fine. Yeah, we'll agree on that. It's not the Barry White of horns.
Go. Right. So whilst you're trying to concentrate, did you pass your driving test first time round?
I did, twice in fact.
You passed it first time round twice? That doesn't make any sense.
It does. What? In your first 2 years, you can only get 6 points on your licence, so it gets revoked.
Oh, yeah.
So that happened. So I then went and retested again and passed it first time then as well.
Ah, so, yeah. What was your first car?
Toyota Starlet.
Ooh, classic.
Yeah,
Colour?
Brilliant. A kind of purplish blue.
Ooh, next car?
Suzuki Swift.
Ooh, Suzuki Swift. I had an Alto.
Nice.
Suzuki Alto, baked bean tin blue with a 3-cylinder motorbike engine in it. Love that car.
This was the one that had just redone them, and I'd picked up an agent and he was trying to impress me, so he got me a Suzuki Swift. It was black with the white Viper stripes down the middle.
Nice. Speed.
Yeah.
Best car? Worst car?
Best car. Oh, I've had hundreds. It's genuinely because I've always had to get a car cheap and drive it into the floor, so I've gone through quite a few cars. The Starlet was actually probably one of the best things to drive, as it had a decent engine and a tin frame around it, so you could really fling that thing around. Worst car, probably actually the Swift. It was why I got 6 points, because when you drive around in a blooming black car with white stripes down the middle, that's a Suzuki Swift, everyone watches your speed limit, so yeah.
I'm going to point out the points were not because of the Swift, that was because of the speed you were doing.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But, right, okay,
but it was all handheld cameras, it was none of the stationary cameras, it was policemen who obviously saw what very much looked like a boy racer, and went, oh yeah, he's doing a bit quick.
That's a very, very big man in a very, very small car.
Yeah.
That wasn't anything to do with the points, that was just like, just film this will be great.
Well, in my defence, that car, because my agent was a family friend, and he was the dad of my family friends almost. His son then got that car, who was never really broken the speed limit much in his life, and he got caught twice in it. And then his sister got it, and she got caught once in it. They then took the stripes off, and no one's been caught in it since. So it's not just me making excuses.
Literally were go faster stripes.
They literally were go faster stripes. Yeah.
Right, so imagine you're in a Suzuki Swift. With stripes, no stripes.
No stripes, that's stealth mode. Absolute hill climb.
we might take off at
200 yards to the hill climb. And we made it.
Oh, crikey. Fun?
Yes. That is the smuggest.
It's just a handle.
So, Charlie, my car.
Just take the handbrake off.
Well, you know, some of us have it, some of us don't.
This is the worst bit, Charlie. I'm not good at the endings. They become really formal later. And thank you very much for your time.
There you go. Yes, well, rather enjoyed it, old chap. Yes.
Shall we do it again? Pip, pip.
Thank you for letting me take the old run around out for a spin. It was rather enjoyable. Yes.
Thank you for making a rather stupid idea become reality. Your challenge now, well, we can do all the SEIS stuff.
Yes.
We can help you with that. The real challenge, you got to buy one, or help me start my supercar club. We can all go out and do this.
Done.
And in fact, put some sports people in it.
Yeah, they'll love it.
What did you say to me earlier? It's not quite Top Gear. You're a reasonably...
Oh, I'm a... Yeah, so the Top Gear thing is a star in a reasonably priced car, isn't it? And I said it's not quite that, so I'm a reasonably priced star in a car, so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But imagine if we could do that. Your favourite sports star comes out in your car, does some networking, gets some work experience.
It certainly all ties together nicely.
I'm sensing a plan here. Thank you for indulging me.
No,
I appreciate it.
Thank you for indulging me. I was a giant child sat in that.
See you at the next rock concert.
Very good.
Cheers, Charlie.